I want to thank for the school for organizing this beautiful event and also the organizer teams. And this is not just my first talk here. It's one of the most rewarding places that I've been in my life, and this place means a lot to me. So I want to start my talk with a confession. 3 years ago, I was standing in a seat like that, just like that. Actually, I wasn't sitting. I was waiting. I was waiting for someone to tell me who I can become in life. I was waiting for someone to wake me up and show me a big green light that I can go and follow my dreams. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, a person who goes and finds problems and takes institutions to fix this problem in a given market. And I graduated in 2024, and those are my lovely math teachers. And I had these good academic standings in my journey. So I was a top student, I was an A student. But inside, I wasn't going to become an engineer, I wasn't going to become a doctor and pursue a traditional path that everyone takes. I had this insane level of obsession that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. It was my passion since I was a child. And I was raised reading biographies of people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. So I wanted to go and build something on my own. So I graduated from this college, and I started my journey. And in my freshman year in Sabancı University, I had this problem that in education, there's a problem that I think I can fix, and it's going to be fixed with artificial intelligence. So it was my idea, and I come up with the idea. And I told myself that, yes, Arad, you have been going to a beautiful college. You have started your journey in academia. You have been doing a good job on SATs, on exams, on APs, but you don't have any experience here. And most importantly, you are not qualified. You don't have a diploma. You're just entered the job market. So I was a waiting room type of a person who waits for their turn to come up. And I'm sure many of you feel this way. I'm sure that you are standing in your places, you are going to your classes, you want to do something with your life, you want to make a change in the world, but you are waiting for your turn to come up. You are waiting for someone to show you a green light. Well, I learned something from reading these beautiful people's work, these awesome people's work in US, and the younger generation who come up with ideas and turn it to magnificent things. And I thought that maybe life is not a series of gates. Maybe life is just an arena, and every door is open. You just have to have the courage to go on and knock on the doors yourself. So I started my journey, and I said that I need to apply for an investment program. This investment program was by Turkish National Council of Research, TÜBİTAK. They were investing in deep tech companies in Turkey. You need to have a research project and turn it to companies. But this process is a 4-stage process, and it's filled with people with PhDs, people doing academia, people who are professionals in their life, have decades of experience, and more qualified than I am. Because at the time I started, I was only 19 years old, and it was my first year in college. So I applied to this program, and I went through the stages. And the day of the presentation comes, and I walk into the room. There are 7 professors in the Zoom call. And I think that probably the average age was around 50 years old. I was 19 years old. I was so stressed. And I didn't know how to pitch. It was my first time presenting something to people who are more qualified than I am. And I'm sure they thought that, what is this 19-year-old kid doing here? I started the presentation. It was going to be a 10-minute presentation. It was going to be 5 minutes talking about what's your projects, what are you doing, what's the research you are doing, and 5 minutes about questions. So I walked to the room, and I started talking, and 5 minutes passed, and then another 10 minutes. Then after that, they start asking questions, deep questions, technical questions. How are you going to do this? How you come up with the idea? What's your background? What are the qualifications that you have? And what educations have you took into your life? And I was at those moments stressed, because this was my passion, remember? I was going to become an entrepreneur. And I had just started this journey. And then 10 minutes passed, 20 minutes passed, 30 minutes passed, and I walk out of the room. It was the presentation ended. And there are 3 engineers waiting outside the room, and they are in their mid-30s and 40s. One of them had a PhD in mechanical engineering. I think one of them was coming from ODTÜ. And they look at me and they say, "Did something go wrong in the presentation? You've been there for 30 minutes. And I was so stressed that I said, no, that there wasn't. They just asked 5 questions to me. And they go, 5 questions. They have been asking everyone at maximum 1 question. Why did they ask you 5 questions? And at that moment, I said, you know what, Arad? Life indeed is a series of gates. At some point, you just can't go and follow your passion. So I went home disappointed, and I was thinking what I was doing with my life. And then 3 months later, the results come up. There were around 2,000 projects announced, and teams and startups all over around Turkey. At the end of the 4-stage projects, only 101 of them were awarded the Seal of Excellence, and they got the investment. And surprisingly, I was one of them. And it turns out the team from 3 engineers that I spoke to them, they didn't get it. And I started my belief with this, that in life, there is no green lights. And in fact, the green lights that you have been waiting for your whole life, and me including, is just someone's opinion. Then I started my journey, I started my company, I started going to door by door, starting getting investments. I was talking to venture capitalists. I started a company with 8 people, and I was ready to invest. I'd be invested in my company. I was going to pitch to venture capitalist firms, and I go, there's a lady, which is one of the most important venture capitalists in all Europe, and I got a meeting with her. And I was very surprised at that. She approved me and got the meeting. So it was a 30 minutes meeting. I go there, and I start the presentation. And I'm very passionate. I'm still thinking about the problem every day. And this is my life. And I start the presentation, and 5 minutes passed, and she said, all right, just to stop. You're not good at it. Have you taken any presentation classes? Have you taken any courses in your life? Have you gone out with mentoring? And what's your background? Are you qualified? Are you not qualified? That kind of questions that reminds you that maybe life is indeed a series of gates. Maybe sometimes you cannot just go and follow your passion. And I had this big red light that I never thought about it. And at that moment I had 2 choices. I go back to the waiting room. Remember, that waiting room I've been struggling all my life. Or I can just continue my journey, because I remembered what happened with those 7 professors and how a not qualified kid with not those PhDs and doctorates and many experience got the investment. So I said, yes, I'm going to continue my journey despite getting a rejection. So 5 months later, I was standing in the stage of Web Summit Qatar in 2026. And it was one of the most popular programs in the whole world. And there was 30,000 people there. And I was chosen out of all those global startups to present it on the stage. Remember, it was the same presentation. It was the same idea, same slides, but it was a different room. And at that moment, I realized one thing, that in fact, life is not a series of gates. And people with passion go and start their journey when they are not ready. And sometimes green lights show on your journey, and sometimes they don't. And this is me on the stage, and that's Professor Yang from National Research Council of Singapore. And he came to me and said, it was one of the most interesting presentations I've ever watched in my life. So I want to leave you this. Whatever you are passionate about, whatever you want to do with your life, and there are people around you telling you cannot do it, telling maybe you are not qualified, telling maybe you need to finish your school first, telling maybe you need to have 10 years of experience in something to do a change in the world. Remember that green lights are just someone's opinion. Those approvals that we're waiting for our whole life are just someone's opinion. And if you wait for every opinion to turn green, you will wait your whole life staring at a big red light that no one is actually controlling. In fact, today's theme is Meraki. It's about curiosity. It's about something that you are passionate about, something that you want to do a change in the world, something you think you have an idea about it, and something that you want to pursue. Remember that you don't have to always be the smartest person in that room, the smartest person in your class. You don't have to have the perfect GPA, the perfect star, go to the perfect school. You just have to have the courage to go and start your journey. In fact, we live in a world where courage is in far shorter supply than genius. So your whole life, don't wait for someone to show you a green light. Don't wait for your mentor to say to you that you are finally ready, that finally you can start your journey. And don't wait for qualifications and don't wait for gates to open to yourself. Go on there, start your journey when you are not ready. Because remember, the world doesn't run on permission. It doesn't run on qualifications. It runs on those people who have started when they were not ready. Those people that you want to become, they all started when they were not ready. So don't pursue a green light in your life. Be that light. Embrace and show the people around you that you can be that green light that opens the doors and gates, and you go on and you follow your dream, what you're passionate about. And remember, passion and obsession is the last thing that's going to be for us humans in the age of AI. Because all the smart work, all the qualifications, all the knowledge is going to be replicated and it's going to be everywhere with AI. But something that makes us human, something that makes us more powerful is the passion, that insane level of obsession that we have for solving and going on a journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't wait for the green light, be the light. Thank you very much.